Good morning, happy Friday, and welcome back to the NOFO Live podcast, where I, Sunita, along with my co-host Tracy, we hop on every Friday and talk about all things North Fork. Today is the first day that I'm so excited to do the weather report because it is spring on the North Fork. Yay! If you watch the podcast, you know week after week I've been talking about how cold and windy and bitter it is, and here we are in the middle of April and spring was showing no signs of arriving. But I drove around in Greenport yesterday and a whole bunch of the cherry blossoms are blooming. I happen to have cherry blossoms in my backyard, but I also happen to have magnolias and several other Japanese flowers like a camellia. So the whole yard is blooming and I'm so excited and so happy. I mean, it's crazy how a single day or a week can change your mood because, like I said, last week was so cold and so brutal. So much to share, so much exciting stuff going on. Obviously, if you know, we're working towards Bollywood Night in May, so there's a lot of behind the scenes activity and decor, and I have to say that's all Tracy, but it's a lot going on and it's fun. There was just an article published recently about the podcast and the work that Tracy and I are doing, and we are so humbled and blown away by the way Chris, who's the reporter that wrote the article, captured our essence and what we're trying to do and our mission. So that was beautiful. We'll share the article and send an email out maybe with the link so you can read the whole article. But it just warmed our hearts. And it's a happy day. Speaking of happy, we have so many vineyards on the North Fork. I mean, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Are you drinking the happy Kool-Aid today?
Well, you know what? I just walked outside to get to here, so now I'm drinking the happy Kool-Aid because I realized how warm it is and how
Warm,
nice it is.
but also everything's like flowering. Everything's
Yes,
waking up.
including behind you. That looks so
Oh, that
beautiful with those flowers.
those are azalea from my backyard. Good
Gorgeous.
morning, Giovanni. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are
Good
you?
morning,
Is there
Giovanni. Hi.
is there bud break on the vineyard yet?
Uh,
We'll just jump right in.
no, not
Not
quite
yet.
yet. We're hoping it
Which
holds off for a little bit further,
Yeah,
a little
that's
longer.
what you're hoping
Yeah.
for. I drove in Greenport yesterday, like I said, and towards the afternoon it was nice, but like literally like the little pink cherry blossoms are just like starting everywhere. It was cute. There is a cherry blossom festival in Greenport coming up. So we should tag that and send the flyer on
Yes.
that. It's like a pedal walk and a run. And I think they even have like some Japanese dance demonstration. There's a lot going on. I'm just happy.
Yeah. My hydrangeas are starting to pop out, like not the flowers, but the greens, and that's making me very happy.
Yeah, what's interesting with the magnolias is the flowers completely bloom first. So the tree is bare, but they're
Oh, how
covered in
cool.
pink flowers everywhere, and then the leaves will come later. So it's just when you live in the North Fork in farm country, you have no choice but to sort of appreciate and enjoy and know all of these patterns, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Welcome, Giovanni. How are
Thank you.
you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. Really
Uh,
appreciate it.
Tell
well,
our audience who you are, Giovanni, and what you do.
Sure. So I am Giovanni Borghese. I am proprietor of Borghese Vineyard, and we are essentially very humbled and grateful to be a part of this community. I feel extremely blessed to be in the position that I'm in, continuing on what is the first vineyard on Long Island. To put in perspective, I am essentially the second generation owner of the second family to own and operate what is the first vineyard on Long Island.
Okay.
And it's a lot of shoes, big shoes to fill. And I get to work every day with a purpose that almost feels as though it's bigger than myself. It's bigger than life itself.
What
so let's
you said you're second generation. So what year
That's
did
right.
your family take over the vineyard?
In 1999.
So
In
I want to go back.
1999.
I want to
Yeah.
go back a little
Yeah.
farther. I want to go back and start from, was it 1975? Correct me if I'm wrong. 1975 or 1976 when Hargrave, which is the original founding vineyard, started here on Long Island.
That's right. It's 1973. where the young Hargraves had identified their interest in pursuing viticulture. Specifically, they wanted to plant Vitis vinifera, the specific species of grape that is used for winemaking. And it was at a time when everyone told them it can't be done. If I refer to Louisa Hargrave's book, there were a lot of arrows in the back to say where they had to make a lot of mistakes pursuing this while everyone got the benefit of learning from their mistakes. And it's an incredible book, The Vineyard, that she had written. It's a really accurate account of what it was to start the first vineyard, to raise a family, and we're all grateful for their ambition today, as after a few decades, it's turned into a really beautiful a pocket wine region that's getting more and more national and global acclaim as the years go on.
I don't know what we're at. I think we're at 50 or 60 vineyards close to, right,
Yeah.
between the two
Sure.
forks. So it's
Yeah.
incredible that they led the trail, literally the wine trail, for
Yeah.
everybody that followed. So I'm sure they
That's
had
right.
a lot of ups and downs.
That's right.
But yeah, but how wonderful that thanks to them, in a large part, that we do have the Long Island wine region now.
That's right. That's exactly right. And what else it's done to bring attention to the region and farming and agriculture and community as a whole.
So you grew up on the vineyard. Now, you said your family bought in the 90s. So obviously,
That's right. So I actually grew up in Center City, Philadelphia, and it was my sister's godmother that lured my folks up to the North Fork. Actually, it started with a trip to the Hamptons, in which she then took them to the North Fork, and I believe they were touring vineyards, not necessarily in the market at the time, but they stumbled upon Hargrave. They had met the Hargraves and discovered they were selling. And my father, who's from Italy, it just kind of hit him. We all used to joke that this was like, his moment, his the quintessential American dream. It was to come here. It was to succeed in life and in business, and then it was ultimately to end up on a vineyard. And so, yeah, we were young teenagers when we were broken the news. We're moving from Center City, Philadelphia, to the North Fork of Long Island, and
Wow.
well, there was nothing.
convinced to.
There was nothing but potato fields, sod fields, and potentially a vineyard.
It was the late 90s, so I would say it's definitely very different 25 years later. But you saw driving up and down 48 and 25, you saw a bit of what it resembles today, just maybe some less houses and less traffic.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were shown and explained to what it means to be a part of a family business, and to adapt from our life growing up in Center City, Philadelphia, to the country, and that was it was a challenging transition for sure. I mean, I have very fond memories of my parents going through that transition and how they adapted to it, and for my sister and I's sake, what it was like to go to completely new schools, new environment. But I'd like to say it was a very positive experience. There was a lot of uncertainty at that time, but it ended up being a very positive experience. I cherish those memories of 10th, 11th, and 12th grade at Mattituck High School. I'm still friends with some of the friends I met then. I'm still best friends with today, and I think that's all really special to now in my adult life be here on the North Fork, because I had gone off to school, I had started a career and traveled in other cities, and it wasn't until I was called back to the farm that I really hunkered down here for the past about 10 years or so now, 11 years.
How long did you leave the North Fork, and what ultimately made you feel that calling to come back?
Sure. So I had essentially been here for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and I graduated in '04, and I don't come back again until summer of 2014, when my folks unfortunately passed away within a week of each other. And during that time I was away, I had pursued my education in Boston. I finished my bachelor's there, started a career in Manhattan, was interested in what I was doing. I appreciated my education. I appreciated the early stages of my career. I think I was going through a lot of the motions to make mom and dad happy. I don't know if I necessarily really found my niche or my passion, but I knew it was important to further my education, start a career, start the foundation to my life, and get started as an adult here in this world. And out of nowhere in the summer, the fall of 13, I was offered to sail to Cuba, which I
Wow.
thought was unique and interesting and something worth pausing kind of everything that I had going on for at the time. And that unintentionally turned into 8 months of hitchhiking throughout the Caribbean on various boats until I ended up meeting with a couple that were looking to sail to Portugal and got lucky enough, right place, right time to cross the Atlantic Ocean with them. And so that turned into 8 months of just completely unintended travel, just excited to see
Wow.
where it was going.
Wait, hold on. You literally just said that like I went on a plane from New York to Miami. You sailed across the Atlantic.
I did, and I had always had a dream of cutting out and doing something like that. I had been taught how to sail at a young age, and I'd be lying if I didn't say that I was always kind of scouring these certain types of crew finder sites where captains are looking for crew and vice versa. But I was always fixated on, finishing the degree and starting the career, and it was always kind of like a when is this going to happen? When is this going to
I
happen
mean,
thing. And then,
most people struggle, at least the ones who are called to take a month out to go walk the Camino,
yeah,
and here you are
yeah,
doing
I
8 months on the Atlantic.
yeah.
I mean, how wonderful that life brought you that opportunity at the right time.
Yeah, I felt very blessed to be able to do that. And, knowing that it's a very rare thing to come across, I just thought I'm going to take this as far as I can take it. And when it's able to, when the line is shown, that it's not able to continue, I'll get back into the real world, right? It was always a matter of just going to do this one trip. The person that offered me, that asked me to work on the boat for them was going to fly me home in exchange. It just turned into more and more and more. And I always just thought maybe I'll sail around the world. Maybe I'll make the whole journey at that point and write about it and come home and get back into the real world. But yeah, reality set in during the crossing. I unfortunately, my mom, who was my biggest cheerleader during this trip, always encouraged me to keep going, keep going. She was battling illness, and I always told her like, I'm on the next flight home if something happens. Borderline questioning if this is like the right thing to do. Should I be there? But she was very strong and independent and didn't need the hovering around her while she was
Yeah.
battling, and really was more proud of the fact that everybody was like out and about doing their own thing. And I always thought I'd get a chance to catch that next flight for, if things were to change, or at least come to some sort of completed moment and then return. But her condition took a turn while I was crossing the Atlantic. So we actually had a very special moment where I actually had my last words with my mother on a satellite phone in the middle of the ocean, where it was time to say goodbye.
Wow.
And while it might not be the first choice in terms of how you say um, goodbye to somebody, it was uniquely special to us. And then so I got to complete that journey knowing that she really was happy seeing me do
Yeah.
it. And, came home, and unfortunately, shortly after, my father was in a accident that was just very unlucky, unfortunate timing. And it led me, back to the North Fork. It led me to uh, well, first of all, it led me to the decision of, and my siblings and I, to the decision of what do we do with this
Right.
business? What do we do with this farm that has such a deep-rooted history and legacy with the local area? And after having only been here for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and not necessarily having such a deep appreciation for what exactly my parents were doing, and a little bitter about the move from Center City, Philadelphia to the country,
Yeah.
there was something that just didn't feel right about, moving on from it, selling it, and pursuing my career again. It just felt like time to kind of like explore what was here, and again with the same mentality of taking it to wherever the line may be shown. I thought that we'll just do this until I'm somewhat forced a certain way, and if it's impossible to keep because of X, Y, and Z reason, um, then we'll just go when that truth is shown. And it's been beautiful years with
Wow.
with the team. A combination of folks that had previously been working for my folks, as well as some new hires, and to be able to be here 11 years later, I think is really special and perhaps even a little bit unexpected. But we're rolling with
Your
I just
it.
your parents must be so proud of you, Giovanni, and I just want to say thank you so much for sharing that story with us because you didn't have to, and it's just really touching and says so much. First of all, I feel like I just learned a huge lesson in parenting from your mother.
I
Huge.
literally like I that's where I want to address
Yeah.
also from like the other side of it. I know you experienced it from being the child and being the one on the sailboat, but as a parent, I fully resonate and understand where your mom was coming from because there's no bigger joy and satisfaction in life than knowing that your kids are thriving. Like I don't want to start crying now, you know.
I'm
Yeah,
crying.
yeah.
But I feel the same with Tracy. First of all, condolences again from, on behalf of everybody that can't speak up here because there are so many comments coming through. And similarly, like Tracy, thank you for sharing that story. But I do want to go back to focusing on how challenging that moment would have been because it sounds like you and your sister Allegra, right? That's her name?
Yep.
Were not as deeply connected to the farm as your parents. Like they were doing it and you guys were living your lives, but now suddenly you really have to make a very weighted decision of how you honor the legacy of your parents and the Hargraves and the farm. That's a lot for a young kid
Yeah.
to take on
Yeah.
their shoulders.
Yeah, the first thing I want to mention, so it's not lost on us, is that we do have an older brother too. I want
Okay.
to
Well,
make sure he's definitely with us as well. I don't mention him as much when it comes to the move because he was a bit older than us and already had finished his studies and was pursuing his professional career when my sister and I were part of this move. So when it came to the events of summer of 2014, it was really the three of us together kind of figuring out what the next steps were in navigating this. And my sister and I, having experienced the North Fork and been in touch with the local community where our brother wasn't, it was really a team effort for us to kind of all understand our different perspectives and essentially ask ourselves, like, who wants what here,
Yeah.
and it was a little bit like it had the potential to be extremely challenging. It had the potential to be extremely dramatic, and not every family is able to necessarily come together and just have these open and honest conversations. But ultimately, it wasn't for my brother and sister.
Yeah.
It's the simplest way to put it. They had very my brother is awesome. Don't get me wrong. He's living in Philly. He was raising three girls. He is co-founder of a company that he had actually taken public. Like he is
Wow.
and he has always been my biggest influence and one of my biggest mentors my whole life growing up. So when he said it's not for him, it wasn't so much a like, oh, come on. It was totally understood. My sister too. She was adamant that she would pursue her education further
Mhm.
and go for her PhD. And today my sister is Dr. Borghese. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have any ill feelings towards the fact that they didn't want to participate in this. I don't think it was a fit in that regard, and I frankly not even sure it was like a fit for me. It's just that I wasn't currently in that 9 to 5 corporate world when
Right.
this all
Well,
took
like you
place. I
talked
was currently
about like
coming
you talked
from,
about the sailing, it was at the right
yeah,
time.
Yeah.
Some
I,
things have to
I,
come to you at the right time
I
in
truly
life.
believe that because I was in that chapter
Yes.
when this happened, it made me gravitate towards this and think this is now the next challenge I need to take on. This is the next thing, as opposed to saying, let's pack this up, it's not for us, and then go pursue my career again. Didn't really feel right for me, and it wasn't until a few years later that I actually read Louisa Hargrave's book, The Vineyard, and I had no previous knowledge that she actually in the final chapter referred um, to my family specifically. She mentions my mother and father and my
Wow.
sister and I by name in the end of the book, essentially, really passing the torch down and giving us as a family her blessing, and that this, she, if I can quote, this will be a misquote, but I remember her saying that something about these cooped up city kids that she saw running around the farm upon their first visit to the farm, and that like with the, she put our parents in a really beautiful light in her writings, and that she just felt like she had found, the next stewards of the land, and that essentially she really set the stage for what is to become the part two, because Louisa does a great job of not necessarily making herself the main character. The main character is the vineyard, and it's about how the farm and the ambition of starting the vineyard kind of shaped all their lives and what happened around the farm. And if there would ever be a part two, I feel like I could really speak well to keeping
I
the
feel like
vineyard the
I feel
main
like you'll have.
character.
Sorry, I
And
feel like you'll have to come
yeah.
back and log in as Borghese Vineyard so we can actually talk about the wines, because I don't think we're
Yeah.
gonna get there
No,
today.
no,
Yeah.
no, we could get there. I wanted to end with that though, is that I feel like I really owe her a lot. That is Louisa Hargrave for putting my family in this position of keeping the vineyard the main character, and adapting around it, and to now be the second generation to do so. It's really special. But go ahead. I have a couple bottles here. I'm happy to share with you if you'd
No,
like me
no, we're
to.
good. We're good
Yeah.
Yeah.
because this the what you've shared and has set such a stage for the love, and you choosing to do this work. So I'm sure it comes across in every sip and every taste that you produce at the vineyard.
Thank you. Yeah. I've got a couple things to show you real quick. One is
Yeah.
the Pinot Noir that we've kind of made a name for ourselves with. We're grateful for the fact that the Hargraves planted the Pinot Noir. You'll notice it's a rarity on the North Fork. All the vineyards in mind, only a handful have it. It's a finicky grape to work with. It's not necessarily the most safest investment or guarantee that it'll, come up and cooperate for you. And it's something that we've come to cherish. It's the jewel in our crown, as we call it, and we continue in that tradition of making the best Pinot Noir that we can. And our latest release we're really excited about is our first Method Champenois. And
Oh.
this was another thing that was a long time coming. For anyone who's familiar with the process of making a Method Champenois as opposed to like a forced carbonated sparkling wine where the carbonation is naturally occurring in the bottle, it takes a very long time to make. It's a lot of time and material, and a long process with a lot of capital tied up in that. So we're really happy to have it finally
So
be
wait,
able to
can
be
I ask a
released and
question?
available. Yes,
Can I ask a question? So
of course.
champenois
Yeah,
sounds like champagne.
that's
So
right.
it's like a champagne prosecco type of wine. It's a
It,
bubbly.
it is it is basically signifying that it is champagne, but that we can't call it champagne in the
Because
U.S.
it's not from Champagne,
The
right?
grapes are not
Exactly.
grown in Champagne.
But
Yeah.
what it differentiates is that it's not essentially carbonated wine. It's not prosecco in the sense that it's basically the bubbles
Naturally.
are yeah, exactly, like you can have sparkling wines, proseccos. These are essentially the bubbles are injected. The bubbles
Interesting.
are kind of
I
forced
see.
into the
Okay.
base wine, right?
Okay.
And whereas the real champagne method is that you're actually achieving a second fermentation that takes place inside the
Wow.
bottle. So those bubbles are
So
natural,
when they go
and
into
that
the bottle, it's flat, but whatever process you're using is causing the bubbles to be in there. Okay,
that's right.
that
That's right.
that makes
That's
sense.
right.
That
Wow.
I
makes
could
sense.
go
Didn't
way
know
further into
anything
the
about
chemistry
that.
side of this. We could get real into the fermentation, but essentially there is, when you first bottle a champagne, you're putting a soda cap or like a beer bottle cap on top, and there's a chemical reaction that's taking place where the second fermentation creates the bubbles, and then it's after the fact that that's opened, and then the cork and the cage go on,
Wow.
and then it's
So,
labeled
but
and
but
presented for sale.
but you alluded to the fact that that takes a long time, which
Yes.
is why you're finally ready to release the bottles now.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what else do you produce there? So Pinot Noir, the
For reds, the Pinot Noir, the Merlot, and Cabernet Franc.
okay.
And for whites, we have Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay, and another rarity for the North Fork, which is Semillon. And oftentimes, Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc are blended together. We like to harvest them separately, ferment them separately, and then make our proper proportion blends. It gives us a little bit of an ability to have more of a diverse Sauvignon Blanc, as well as potentially a blend Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay together can make a nice blend as well. So with those 6 grapes, essentially, we have about 17 wines. And what you're looking at is reds, whites, some reserve that take a little bit more time in the barrel, whites that either don't see any oak or otherwise whites that do see oak. So you have your 2 versions of Chardonnay, 2 versions of Sauvignon Blanc, various versions of reds. We released a new series called the North Road series, North Road Red, North Road White, and North Road Rosé. This kind of replaced what was previously our non-vintage line. We have a dessert wine named 𝗕𝗓𝗏 after my sister, another port-style dessert wine called Afterglow. And then aside from these bubbles, the naturally occurring method champenois, we also have a bubbly, a rosé bubbly that we call effervescence. That's also
For a
a
small
lot of fun.
team. For a small team and a small vineyard, you're definitely making a lot of wine. Tracy, we're going to skip the NOFO Life
No,
5 because I just want to
it's
ask a
okay.
couple.
Listen, I just want to tell everybody, I texted Sunita this morning and I was like, I have to end right at 9:30 because I have a conference call. Honestly, this is such an interesting conversation, Giovanni. I am going to skip my conference call because I don't want to end the conversation. I'm
Awesome.
dead
Okay.
serious.
Okay, good. Because I do want to.
Wait, I just want to say, like, first of all, you just dumped a whole bucket of knowledge on us. Like, you said things that I was like, oh, I didn't know what that reserve means. It needs to be in the barrel longer. I didn't know that I didn't. So, I mean, you said you moved here in 10th, 11th, 12th grade. Obviously, you didn't learn those things then. Then you went off and lived your life. And then you came back and got handed a vineyard and had to learn all of this.
That's right.
That's amazing how much you've really, like, no, you're not just running a vineyard. You've actually
Or owning a
about
vineyard.
wine.
You're not just owning a vineyard. It's you know,
Right.
And I like to, and I appreciate that perspective, but I like to correct that perspective because it comes up often that the truth is there were a lot of partners involved here. My family had 51% of it going back to 99. And so that 51% got split 3 ways. And I was waving my 17% flag saying, you know, we should pursue this, kind of trying to encourage my brother and sister to let's navigate away from the partners to no avail. And respectfully, you know, we made the decision that I would acquire my brother and sister's shares. I took on the 51%, which at the time came with a heap of debt obligation in the form of like a pre-existing mortgage and vehicle and equipment financing and other things that were in the mix, as well as an investor base that represented the 49% of the company who all wanted out. And were actually pretty disappointed to see that their majority shareholder was now a 28-year-old kid who otherwise had no idea what he was doing. But, you know, they were
who's literally fresh off the boat.
Yeah, and they were kind of at the mercy of, you know, my either, you know, lack of experience or ambition or combination of the two. But we had known that in due time something was going to happen here, where either we as a group were going to be moving on from the vineyard, or I was actually going to be able to acquire their half too. And upon buying them out, I actually was able to sell half of the farm to a man that leased it back to me, and that's how I was able to accommodate the debt that was raised, that not only I first took in, but that was further raised buying everybody out. So the truth is, today Borghese Vineyard is actually a smaller version of what it originally was when it was Hargrave, but we still have access from what we've retained, what we still currently own, and what we're still farming. It resembles the same. It's still the same amount of acreage of vines, and I was able to lease back the portion of the vines on the land that was sold, as well as the winery itself. The barn that I leased back still hosts the tanks, the barrels, the equipment is still all ours, but we're now working with our new landlord as of the summer of 22, and that's all been going really well. We're really blessed to have been able to make that transition and accommodate the partners and accommodate the debt and find a path forward here that was able to keep us from having to just exit the whole project. So
Right. I can't thank you enough for that transparency and that information.
yeah,
I'll tell you why. Because obviously, you know, people who live here see things for sale. And I know that Borghese was for sale, you know, a
yeah,
couple of years ago. But I'm
yeah,
really glad that you took the moment to
yeah.
explain what that for
Thank
sale
you.
meant,
Yeah,
is that you were restructuring in a way that allowed you to sort of steer the ship and you know, move forward with the vineyard. So
right.
so
It
thank you
was
for
one of those situations where if we couldn't find someone that was interested in half the farm and to lease back the bit of it that I needed, it would all have to go. That was kind of my arrangement with the bank when it came to supporting me in terms of acquiring the partner shares. So it could have gone either way, and it was really special to have it come, go the way that we were always hoping. It gave us the light at the end of the tunnel to keep seeing what's next.
Well, as a mom that has kids close to the age you were at when you got the vineyard, bravo to you for having the vision, for having the perseverance to stick with it and be like, I'm going to give it a go and give it my all. And I'm so happy to be able to celebrate you and the vineyard on the other side because
I
it's
got to give
beautiful.
all the credit to my team. If it weren't for all the people in place, my current tasting room manager, winemaker at the time, I had the field crew, the bar staff, the bookkeeper, the accounting firm, the relationships that were all needed. Like I have no chance if it's not for them sticking around with me throughout the transition. And while there are a few new faces today, it really is a team effort. I have to make sure that that's known. I got no shot without them. So.
Do you still do tours? And the reason I say
Oh yeah.
that is because you are such a great storyteller. And when the North Fork Foodie Tour, I know that you do tours then. I was lucky enough to take a tour with some of my friends that were visiting, and you shared snippets of the thing. And it's a beautiful thing to hear directly from a Borghese.
Sure, yeah. I used to do the farmers markets. I picked up where my mom left off on those from 14 till 20, right around COVID, and was gone. Every Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was in Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan doing these farmers markets. And COVID kind of got me to change my routine a little bit. And since being home for the last 4 years, not having this Friday, Saturday, Sunday absence, I took tours on, and I've really enjoyed them. I've felt as though I get to speak from a place that is not so much that I'm professionally trained or polished in this like viticulture or winemaking background. I really get to just kind of regurgitate what I've learned from my own team, like from my winemaker, from my vineyard manager, from things I've learned doing group tastings here at the tasting room. And I can speak to the like chemistry side of things, and I can get to like that higher level when those questions occur. I every now and then come across like another winemaker or vineyard owner even who's doing a tour, and then I'm like, oh boy. But the truth is, I up to a certain point, I will like pass the mic to someone who's a little bit more polished in that regard. But I think that it's gotten really good feedback because I really come at it with layman's terms and just like what I've seen and what I've heard and what I've done hands-on, as opposed to like the textbook version and definition of everything that can kind of sometimes get a little lost in those that are just casually touring and tasting wine.
Wow. I could literally talk to you all day. This is so interesting.
Likewise.
But I saw like my Zoom thing come up that's like everybody's on the call, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Sorry to do it to you.
But so let's kick it off into our NOFO Live 5 and talk about the North Fork and what you love about it here. So if you were going to take Sunita and I out for a meal, lunch, dinner, breakfast, whatever, where would you choose to take us?
Cool. So there are a couple spots I wanted to mention that I am fond of, and mostly fond of not just because I think highly of them in particular. And I will say I am friends with these people in particular and friendly with them, but I am in all of them due to their transitional experiences, and that would be Little Creek and Meats Meat. I literally just had dinner at Little Creek and got to see their place for the very first time. And I got to tip my hat to the transition they went through, the need to relocate and their ability to adapt to the new location and keep the following that they have, as well as my buddy Larry over at Meats Meat. He's also someone who's bounced around, and now he's at a location that's had a lot of turnover over the years. And I would like to think that the model is secured now, that he's going to be there for a long time to come, and partnering with Alewife too.
I'm so glad to hear that, because I like that spot seems to have like some sort of weird voodoo over it, so I hope that he's gotten through it.
I remember when it was Portobello back when I was in high school. That was Portobello's original location, and having team dinners there when I was playing soccer for Madison High School, and Knowing every time I felt like I was visiting home from college or came checking in on my folks over the years, it was just like always something else. It felt like,
I feel like I feel like it's gonna work. Driving
I do
past there,
too.
just seeing
I
the
do too.
smokers in
Yeah.
the outside spot, and then they have that big lawn. I just
Yeah.
see it as a huge picnic ground, huge barbecues. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for them
Me too.
also.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love his mac and
Um,
cheese. It's so good. His jalapeno mac and cheese. Oh my God. So
definitely.
good.
Okay, we
Definitely.
should have them on the show so they can give you the recipe.
Yes.
Um, sunrise or sunset? What's actually perfect on the vineyard?
Oh, so on the vineyard, I'd have to say we kind of have it good both ways. There are trees that keep you from really being able to see too much of the horizon, but to be on the farm at sunrise is pretty special when there's still dew, depending on the season of the vines. But if you still have that little bit of dew on the grapes and on the leaves, and it's come up, the grass is completely wet, but it's on the verge of a 90-degree day, and before it's completely lifted, there's something really special about that kind of chilly, wet morning right before the day takes off. And Unfortunately, we're not necessarily open at that time, so it's not an opportunity. But we do have on some Saturday mornings in the summer. There's and I'm catching myself here, 'cause depending, it might be Sunday mornings or both. But we do yoga in the vines with a partner of ours in the mornings and the weekends in the summer. And I'm catching myself here because it might switch from Sundays to Saturdays and vice versa. But that is a beautiful time to come, and it's some do take part in a tasting after the yoga. Just throwing it out there. But
I
as far as
see.
sunsets go, I'm still, impartial to Breakwater Beach in Mattituck. That was one of
Yeah.
my first kind of
Great
introductions
stuff.
to Mattituck when I was making my first new friends, and before they closed up all the beaches on the kids these days, that used to be where a lot of us would hang out and conjugate, and that was a really nice spot in the summer to watch sunset.
That's fun. So now you make so many different kinds of wine. So do you have a personal favorite, or are you partial to beer and cocktails, or what's your go-to?
I, as far as what we've got going on now, things fluctuate over the years, and that's the beauty of being in this business is some years you really hit something, some years you're a little susceptible to the combination of sun and rain, or whether there was an early season frost, right? And it may sound a little cliche, but our reserve Merlot right now, we all feel internally like it has come out to be the best Merlot we've ever made. We're
Oh,
often touting the Pinot Noir. The Cabernet Franc is a wine that I think has really identified itself as kind of carrying the name of the North Fork in some regard. But right now, our Merlot reserve is we believe one of the best Merlots that we've ever made, and that's what I'm going. That's my go-to for the moment. Outside of Borghese, I've got to give it out to Little Fish's 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. They have this cocktail called the 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. It's basically a version of a margarita, but with mezcal instead of tequila.
oh,
And I am just, as soon as I walk in the door, I'm just like, already ready for it. I don't
Well,
even
and
look
then
at the menu. And
those,
well,
and they pair it with those beautiful glasses they have. Like, I mean, anything they
yeah,
pour in that glass is gorgeous.
that's right.
well,
Yeah.
Sunita and Tilly and I have a little fish date this summer.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have yet to go,
Stop
so
saying
I
that.
know, but I really want to go, and I just can't figure it out with the 3-year-old.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna make it work. It's just we want to go
Well,
together, so it's like it just hasn't been working. But it's gonna happen
there
soon.
you go.
Soon.
Yes, yes, yes. All right, so when you're done at the vineyard and you're heading home and you want to pick up some fresh veggies or stuff from the farm stand, where do you usually go?
Well, I got to keep it local to Cutchogue and give out a shout out to Wickham's. If I'm in the need for a quick gift or picking up some local ingredients, it is right around the corner from us. But literally yesterday, I just had a sandwich from Eight Hands
Yeah.
that was out of this world. And I wouldn't necessarily say that, a sandwich from me, like it's not necessarily like it's a great farm stand all the same, and that particular item that I'm expressing interest in might not be what you were expecting as an answer.
Yeah,
Because
no, I've
Hey,
heard
as
listen,
far
about
as like
I
farm
go to
stands, like I
Wickham's.
don't know
I
what
go to
your
Wickham's for
definition of
the apple cider donut. So
yeah.
we're not judging.
would be my
I
more
mean,
like classic traditional farm stand, but I would certainly urge you to give the sandwiches at Eight Hands a try. They are hitting on a different level, and it's also right up the road from us, so we
Well,
find ourselves going there
it
for
is
lunch a whole
it is
bunch.
actually a goal of mine and Sunita's to go through all of our old episodes and make a list of what people like to get specifically
There
at
you go.
each farm stand. So what sandwich was it that you had so we
It
can
was
put on the
it
list?
was the banh mi,
Oh,
the banh mi
there's a
at Eight
banh mi
Hands.
again on the North Fork?
So
Oh
that's
my God.
my point. As I had no idea myself, my winemaker, 𝗕𝗚cie𝗂𝗍𝗄, she had it not too long ago, and just yesterday she was just like, "Gee, you need to try
Yeah.
this." She ran out, grabbed me one, came back, and I was, a little bit prepared for, the North Fork live, the later segment of this, and I wanted to make sure that I was, you know, not too. Too many odds and ums and unprepared to answer it. I was just like, oh, easy, easy. Like I'd already been to Eight Hands on a handful of times for lunch and like explored their menu aside from what's available from a farm stand since. But yeah, man,
Wow.
they are filling that void that I think Wednesday's table left
I'm
us
so
when
happy
they
to hear
were
that.
unable to
That's
continue. Yeah,
great to
thank
know.
you.
That's great.
Yeah.
That exact sentence is great to know because I miss Wednesday's table so much.
and we
So
missed the one day that she popped up because neither of us could go. So we're
yeah,
hoping that there
I
is more
know.
of that. I mean,
Yeah,
this conversation can go on for an hour,
I know.
Tracy, but
I know. Well, Giovanni, it's quite obvious what value you bring to the North Fork. And we're so lucky to have you and the history that your family has planted here, literally planted here.
Thank you.
But tell us why you love being a part of the North Fork.
Oh man, you know, first of all, my first impressions and as a teenager in high school, just how well I was received really went far. It could have been a terrible experience moving here, and then having not been here for 10 years and coming back 10 years later to see some changes, but really changes in a great direction from what I saw, and to know that you I feel like when I first came out here, there wasn't as much diversity, and '01, '02, '03 kind of thing. To come look at things now, 25 years later, there are all of these pockets and sub pockets and categories of communities on the North Fork. It's really grown into this diverse and and you know. Uh, I can't say it enough. Like there's these there's my role in the farming industry is very like I feel like I'm sometimes just like kind of watching from 30,000 feet, and it's really about the farm, and my participation in it is something that I'm very proud of. But to see what all the other farmers are doing and how the farming world coincides with the art world, coincides with the culinary world, as well as uh, you know, aquaculture, the boating life. I just feel like what really attracts me to the community is that you will always meet someone new. You'll always meet someone that will say they've been out here 30 years, you've never met, that is coming from a completely different part of the world and a completely different perspective. And as soon as you start to think that, the North Fork's a little too sheltered or a little too like people don't travel as much or know what's out there, you're wrong. As soon as you think that that's the case, like you go to a couple events, you go to a book signing, an artist talk, you go to an art opening or an opening of a new restaurant, and then you just realize like that is so far from the truth, and it's able to keep you on your toes, as small as it may be. It's able to keep you on your toes and keep life fun and interesting, and it's not static. It doesn't get too routine. There's always something you can do to kind of like see the North Fork in an entirely new angle and new light. And I think that's what kind of keeps me keeps me engaged in particular.
Well, so many comments have come through in this live, and I just want to read a couple because it doesn't save them at the end of the show. Like, there's no way to capture them.
Sure.
People are complimenting the staff and how incredible they are and knowledgeable. Somebody commented earlier about your leadership skills and how you continue to give credit to your team, rightfully so, right? But
Thank you.
that does also make you a great leader because it's inspiring people to stay along. My favorite is Stephen commenting on how your parents would be so incredibly proud of you. I know Tracy
Hope
and I
so.
definitely are, and we're beyond grateful that you came on this morning and shared your story, and wish you so much luck and success going forward. I personally see 25 years from now, you writing a book,
Yeah.
maybe titling
Yeah.
it The Vineyard Continues, The Vineyard
Yeah.
Continues to Grow. I don't know, but I
Maybe.
certainly see, so we wish you so much success this growing season.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to come try the
There
champagne
you
pretty soon.
go. Thank you. Would love to have you guys and do a tour too. Let me
Yes.
take you around
Thank
and
you
Oh, we
so
need a
much for
tractor
having
though.
it,
We need a
us.
tractor. A tractor needs to be involved. We need to be on it.
okay. We'll hook
All
up the
right.
trailer. You
Thank,
got it.
thank you.
Actually, I would like
Will,
to drive said tractor if that's allowed.
Yeah, you got it. You drive a stick shift, right? You can do a manual.
Uh,
we'll,
We'll
we'll do
teach
the
you.
Instagram
in
driving. You can
emergencies
pretend.
only. In emergencies
Cool.
only.
You got it. Cool.
And before we go, really quick, Slow Foodies Tent is having their Earth Day celebration tomorrow. We will be there on location. There is an egg hunt for kids. We're going to try to go live, but there are lots of vendors, lots of earth-minded, slow food-minded folks going to be there. So please join us. It's from noon to 4, I think. We'll put a link at Golden
Yeah.
Acres Farms in Jamesport.
Yes.
Have a good
Awesome.
weekend, everybody. We'll see you
Thank you
next
so much,
Friday.
Ivani. Happy
Thank you.
Friday,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.